Okay, I'm not going to mess around anymore with the framing. Hi, welcome to Tea Time and Daisy barking. Daisy, not now. Oh, I live on a river in the urban metropolis of Johannesburg. So it's like living on the beachfront. We've got people coming past all the time. It's an absolute privilege to live here. Cheers to my tea time. It's beautiful winter afternoon sun. And I wanted to share this very special and very tender moment with you, as this is really also so much of a journalistic recording of my journey into my spiritual purpose, a very deep and real purpose. Is it woo-woo? Is it Christian? All and none of the above. It's just real about who we are in our hearts, and based on the maturation of 32 years of post my revelation. See, I get all dreamy the minute I think about it. 1994, profound revelation. You could say in biblical terms, when an angel of the Lord appeared to me, because that's how it felt. But today is a really special day, and yeah, the emotion is here. The emotion is here. I went to church. It's Sunday. It's the 28th of June. Actually, I have a friend I need to call because it's her birthday, my spiritual twin in the UK. And today is a special day. It's amazing. When they talk about the Lord's timing, do you know what is really meant by the Lord's timing? It means the timing of love. That's what it really means. And emotions have their own platform, they have their own dimension, they have their own way of working. That's why women who have a natural doorway into the emotional aspect of human life are so often painted as confusing and complex, but actually they have a natural affinity to emotional intellect. So cheers, I need a sip of tea. Tomorrow is my birthday, and my daughter gave me a beautiful menu. There's a first happy birthday page to invite me to a special intimate lunch with her and my man out on the lawn. So she's given me a little menu to choose from, and because I am a chef, I'm food for the body, food for the soul. And so we're going to have a special little lunch tomorrow. Just so beautiful, really. That's what I chose for this birthday. This time last year, I had 100 people, a live band, celebrating my 30-year career in food styling. This year, quiet, me time, intimate, tender, inner work. So, speaking of inner work and speaking of God's timing, yesterday I went to have my hair cut. She did such a lovely job. It was getting too long. And as I lay there, they've got these beautiful leather kind of recliners, and they do your shampoo and massage. And I'm processing. You know, honey, how do we know when things are going to come to the surface for us. And it came to the surface for me yesterday. All about my greatest pain in life, my greatest pain. And here's a big, big key word. If this is a teaching, and I know this because I've experienced it in my life time and time again, your life purpose, your divine spiritual life purpose, the golden nugget, the pearl of knowledge for that direction and that information lies right in the heart of your pain, right in the heart of your pain. And it all just, the bigger part of it just came out yesterday as I lay there having my hair washed. And by the time I got home, I just felt it overwhelming me. I couldn't even concentrate in a conversation, and I had to excuse myself and have private time. And I went and sat in my courtyard, which is quite unusual for me. And it just came out. Wow. The most, I can only call it sort of cosmic or corporate pain, because the way that it felt, you know, when something has hurt you, it's not in your head, it's in your heart, it's in your body. You feel every part of it, from in every cell of your body. It just aches, and you know where it's coming from, and there's words associated with that. You know what they are. And the words associated with my pain was that no love, end of a love relationship, no betrayal from best girlfriends, no unhappy sibling pain, no childhood wounding pain, and I've had that, the full gamut. No pain from business relationships. If you put that all together and you exponentially increase that to the power of 10, that was maybe in the same region of capacity of pain I was feeling. And I can only explain it to be corporate pain, corporate pain. I felt like I was feeling God's heart, God's pain, because it was not, if this is my pain about this issue, and I'm going to tell you what it is, then it's a pain that millions and millions and millions of people out there, and maybe even you, have felt. And if you haven't felt it, you would know about it. And it's that pain where you've lost yourself. But the pain was so exacerbated and acute because I had been working and processing on this pain for over 30 years, ever since my spiritual awakening, where it was like God revealed himself to me and I went, wow, okay, amazing, I love you, come in. I understand who you are. But, and I had a big but for God then. Cheeky, hey? Cheeky. But my heart wasn't ready. God knows that. He knows our hearts. And I said, but don't bring that Jesus thing near me. Don't bring that Jesus thing near me. I'd had 26 years of church indoctrination in my Christian life and upbringing, and Jesus had a bad name for me. He was given a bad name by the Christians, and I couldn't see past it at that stage. I wasn't prepared to see past it at that stage. So I've spent 32 years, as I say, kneeling at the foot of the Lord, learning his ways, learning his laws, learning his teachings as I moved through life, documenting, writing, all my experiences from this spiritual perspective, these 4 eyes that I've told you about, this quadraphonic eyesight that he gave me, that I now also associate with what I call the diamond mind, because we can lock into our spiritual mind when the Lord allows us to. When we find ourselves in that spiritual space, we get access to that, what I call spiritual mind, where we are understanding spiritual things. We're able to perceive things through spiritual eyes. If you haven't experienced it before, just know that it's a thing. It is a very big thing, a very essential thing to healthy human life. And yeah, yesterday the pain all came out, that the pain of who Jesus is, the pain of missing him in my heart, the pain of what Jesus really means in the world, that love, because Jesus represents my inner self, and that he had been stolen from me by the world, by the skewed teachings of Christians who think they know what they're talking about when they don't. And the church authorities seem to be oblivious of this gaping hole, this gaping absence and wound in the soul of humanity, because the Christ message has not been specifically and detailed so that people can really understand. And I always say the church takes us to the gates of heaven, but they don't let us in. And that's because what I call the doctrine of self, the doctrine of loving self, even though it is in the 2nd commandment, love others as yourself. The yourself part just tapers off. It's kind of, it's just sort of a blank space. It's generic. It's not important. And I say no. It is the very wellspring of life. If love is God, then your heart and its state of health is the very wellspring of life in this world. When it is not functioning properly, and you're not loving yourself, because you cannot give from an empty cup. You have to find self-love first. Self-love is where love of God originates. You have to find that self-love before you can love God and love others. 1st and 2nd commandment. Why is this so, wow, yesterday, the emotion overtook me completely. I just didn't want to face it. I didn't want to face it. It was too much for one person to bear. To imagine not only myself, but you and pretty much every human being on the planet who is struggling with this issue of self-acceptance, which is the wellspring of God's love in this world. Yeah. So today, I went to church. I sobbed like a baby, by the way, yesterday. Like I haven't cried in forever. When you get older, you don't cry so much anymore. And I went to church, and for so long I've been praying and asking for a way for me to serve the church, knowing that I can't just become an usher. My heart is just too tied up in these huge other issues. And I know that if people really understand who Jesus is, they will fling open those church doors and there will be a stampede for people to get in. But it's for the people externally and internally. There has to be a shift of understanding and an opening of hearts. But I love my church so much, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, because people are going to beg me to know which church I go to. Yeah, I'm going to use the opposite kind of psychology. Now, there'll be no beating over the head with the Bible. You're going to want this because this really is Jesus Christ at his core and in his heart. Hello, Hardy Dars. Very noisy. This is Jesus at his core and in his heart. Jesus is love. Jesus is love, people. What part of the love part do you not get? And I apologize on behalf of the church for its shortcoming. Oh, I could do a whole YouTube just on that. And I went to see one of the lay pastors, a divine girl who I know I could trust because she's just such a heartfelt, beautiful woman. And I laid my heart on the line to her and I said, I need to find my place in this church. And we came out of the conversation when I explained my pain and my concern for millions and millions of people in the world who are not coming to church because of the issues in the church. And really, a lot of it has to do with the emotional quotient, the emotional intelligence that is missing from the church. And it just occurred to me, of course, makes sense to understand that there's been no woman in the church for centuries, since the beginning. So it's not surprising that there's no emotional intelligence in the church. I said, we need, people are crying out, their hearts are broken. They need meaning in life. They need to know what love really means. And they need to know what having a spiritual, how enriching a spiritual life with God, who is life and who is love, is really all about, and what that transformation really entails as a healing emotional process. And getting away from the old school language, rhetorical language that we've always used. And that is something where that's the center of my heart. That's my calling. I couldn't lie to her. Why would I lie to her? It seems daring and it seems presumptuous. They don't really know me. And of course, it's a long journey. I don't expect it to happen tomorrow. But you know that she came out and she said, well, do you have a framework? And I said, well, now that you mention it, I have just spent the last 30 years formulating a framework from the experiences of my life. And now taking also biblical teachings and seeing the emotional intelligence in the what are often wrongly called miracles of Jesus are actually signs, the 7 signs of Jesus in the book of John. Right in there is a recipe for healing, but you have to have spiritual eyes to see it. And I'm using that as a framework. And of course, the first 2 commandments. And then a whole lot of other mapping, emotional mapping that I've uncovered. So that's my framework. She asked me, well, I'd love to have that framework. We agreed that we could have a pathway forward and it would be slow. And it's about getting to know one another, and they need to trust me, and I need to trust them. I need to earn my stripes in the church, and I will be doing counseling. And this feeds right into the greatest pain of the church. So it turns out I didn't even ask her I went into the meeting thinking I would like to ask her what is the greatest pain of the church. But as I expressed mine, it all came out. She said, this is the greatest challenge that we have as a church. We're totally overwhelmed in our counseling division, and we just can't help people enough. And I know that people, I said to her, do you want to give people a fish, or do you want to teach them to fish? I mean, it's biblical. She went, yeah. I said, because you need to give people a framework for their emotional health. Yeah, I need to understand a spiritual construct. that gives them a roadmap, so they know why they're doing it, they know what they are doing, they've got multiple choices in how they do it, and they know what the expected outcome can be, or at least they can be given an idea, because it's something you have to experience. It's not something you can really understand until you experience it. But spiritual freedom is just a term to describe it. But what does it really mean when you come into that space? You can only know if you experience it. So, what a celebration today. I'm weepy. And again, I did that YouTube recording of Ugly Cry in church. Well, I exclaimed that every single time I walk into that church, I just start crying. I just start crying. When you really feel the love, other people walk in and it's just another day at work, ticking that box kind of vibe. But when you really, really feel the love, when you really feel and experience the essential importance of how essential it is to worship. That worship, it's like going to gym. Worship for the soul is like going to gym for the body. You have to worship. Worship is that outpouring of your soul of your love to the King of love, to worship God, who is the King of love, the King of life. Yeah. And to worship that source, to worship the God of life and the God of love, and to pour your heart out and to trust, put your faith and your trust in that space, in Him. I like to open up the language, because I think language is half the problem. If you don't want to call Him Him, I don't care what you call Him. He's Him to me. It's that benevolent male energy that is so powerful. But of course, as I've said before, it's a him and a her. He has a female personality too. What a beautiful day. Yeah. I can feel my life changing, and I thank you. I thank you for witnessing it, and I thank you for your interest, and I know that this is going to bring great fruits, tremendous fruits. I just don't have enough minutes in the day until the day I die to say all the things I need to say. And I'm only now finding my voice. Isn't it crazy? So I'm going to put that framework together. Already got it in my head. I'm going to go and play with it now. Thank you so much. I love you. This tea is delicious. The sun is going down. And it's my birthday tomorrow.